A very hearty good morning to everyone on this weekend celebrating the World Anesthesia Day. Heartfelt wishes. Dr. Mullidhar and his team from Bangalore have always done exceptionally well, whether it is on the IACTA front or the ICA front or this TE breakfast session. I thank Dr. Mullidhar for the beautiful Veena that we heard, for the beautiful Sunday morning beginning, and I wish each and every fellow anesthesiologists and the students, particularly joining us, a very, very happy and a prosperous anesthesia innings. We have a proud moment to celebrate today, not just the Anesthesia Day, but a very honorable lady, Dr. Manjula Sarkar, and it's a very honorable duty to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Manjula Sarkar, to you today. Dr. Manjula Sarkar is presently she was the head of KEM, cardiac anesthesia, spearheaded cardiac sciences in an institution like KEM, which is one of the oldest institutions doing anesthesia in the country. Very many firsts from that institution in both cardiac anesthesia and cardiac surgery. After having served well in KEM, she is presently heading as the dean and the head of anesthesia at DY Patil, Bombay. So a big honor and a big clap. She's a very active member of IACTA, has written books, has taken out a journal, and her work in anesthesia with her team is commendable. She's an ACE examiner and a very, very warm human being. So over to Dr. Manju to tell us today more about TEE basics to each one of you in a very, very nice way in the next 30 minutes. We'll have discussion at the end. Welcome, Dr. Manju. You're muted. Manju, you're muted. TE, as we all know, has come up in a big way in the last 20 years, even in India. I think there would hardly be a cardiac center or a non cardiac center without a TE machine. And the role of the anesthesiologist is great. I think Dr. Manjula is ready. We can begin the slides whenever she says a yes. Dr. Manjula, can we hear you?
Ma'am's mic is on.
Okay, then some audio problem at her end, I'm sure. So while we are at it, we at IACTA were lucky to form in 2016 and then again in 2017 the first 20 views of TE. From our local perspective, I request each one of you postgraduates who are wanting to learn TE to go through those slides, that paper in Annals of Cardiac Anesthesia in 2016. And then in 2017, the whole of IACTA group got together to make the guidelines comparing 2D with 3D echocardiography. Today, according to the American Society of Echocardiography, we have 28 views, and 3D TE as well as 4D TE has come up in a big way. We call 3D and 4D as the advanced TE, and today it's our focus to tell you more and more about the two-dimensional transesophageal echocardiography. The two-dimensional transesophageal. Yeah, Manjula, you ready? The moment you're ready, we will want your slides to come up. Please take your time. So 2D TE, of course, has the basics of the ultrasound already spoken to you about. And this basics of the ultrasound with the probe now getting sleeker and sleeker and more improvised with better LED bundles inside it, where the resolution has come up in such a way that your frame rates at a lower resolution show a better spatial orientation. And more than that, you have the knobology very enhanced. If you see and compare the three, Philips as well as Siemens as well as GE, you'll see the machines are lighter, less bulkier, the knobology is more sophisticated, and just a touch of a button, the cursor, the tracing, the calipers, the gain, the depth, everything, the resolution's far more improvised. So all of those who are lucky enough to use the 3D Epic Philips machine or the Vivid 95G machine would have seen the same on the 3D, 4D, and especially the 2D gain. The colors, the mosaic patterns is what you have to get used to. And the GE colors are very different from the Philips colors, and the Siemens nomenclature is a bit different from the other two. But by and large, whatever machine you procure is your institution protocol. How to use it should be your expertise. So learn from the experts, and sessions which are started by Dr. Muralidhar at this forum on a Sunday morning, every morning 9 to 9:45, are really, really welcome and very, very, very fruitful for our learning throughout the week. Dr. Manjula, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am is ready, ma'am. A bit network issue is there in from ma'am side. It is get rectified, ma'am. Just give me 1 minute, ma'am.
Yeah. So when you do the TE, you must know the how to compare it with the transthoracic. Transthoracic has its own four natural views: the apical, the long axis, and the short axis of
Share
parasternum.
screen desktop.
Yes, Manju, please begin. Please,
Now,
Dr. Manjula
now
Sarkar.
entire screen. Then share. अभी वो share कर रहा है, but my slides are not visible. I have clicked on PPT. Full screen. Hide. Okay, hide. Yes, I have hide it. Yeah, not. Okay, fine. And I'm audible, right? Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, fine. So today's topic allotted to me is transesophageal echocardiography and cardiac anesthesia. As Dr. Poonam said that transesophageal echocardiography is really very good tool for all the cardiac anesthesiologists. Even for the non-cardiac anesthesiologist also, those are dealing with the cardiac cases. So there are certain basic views, certain nomenclatures which I'm going to use it in this talk, and you should be able to take how it is going to work. So transesophageal echocardiography, if we look at it, is just an gastroscopy with attitude. So all of us knows that how to do the gastroscopy and how to pass the Ray's tube. So these are the basic needs for doing the transesophageal echocardiography. Now, if you look for the transesophageal cardiography, then TE is, you should know the probe control. So there are two probes given on the base of the TE probe, and these knobs you have to do the control. Now, when you're passing the transesophageal probe, that you should be aware about the probe position. So the probe is going to work in flexion and anterior flexion, posterior flexion, and in the neutral position. So we are going to talk about the retroflexion and anteroflexion and in neutral position. And TE probe is going to work in multi-place. So if you know the probe position, then you will able to take the good images. So you have to advance the probe, you have to withdraw the probe, you have to turn the probe on the right side, you have to turn the probe on the left side. And these are the images you are going to get it of the heart. And angle is going to be from 0 degree to 180 degree. So 0 degree, you are going to get some images of the heart on this plane. At 45 degree, you are going to images on this plane, and at 90 degree, 135 degree and 180 degree to cover whole heart. And flexion right to left, flex to right in neutral and flex to left. So these are the position of the probe we are going to deal with. Now, if you are dealing with a delicate instrument, then you have to take care of the probe also. So how you are going to take care of the probe? The probe is very expensive and delicate. Only experienced individuals should handle it. So learning is very important and training is very important. It should be stored in unflexed position to maximize its lifespan. It is disposable sheath is used, then probe exposure to Sidex can be limited to 10 minutes, but follow the manufacturer's instruction for taking care of the probe. Proper use of a bite block will help to protect the probe. Note that you can destroy a probe on sharp molar during removal. So you have to be very careful for taking out the probe. Don't relax your guard at any time. Now, there are 10 golden rules to use the probe. Enlist the patient's help with good explanation and anesthesia. This is very important step before doing the TEE. Perform a thorough clinical assessment before doing TEE so you know what is the clinical impression about the disease and about the heart. List what you want to know before the TOE, because if you know what you are going to see in these pictures, your mind is set, then it is easy to do the TOE and you can do it in better ways. Only use sedation if you have to be. If the patient is anxious and not allowing to do the TE, then sedation mixture can be used. Work systematically, videotape everything. Tapes are cheap, errors are expensive. With sound for your comments. Tell the patients what is going on and what went on, because explanations are very important. Use Doppler sparingly. Don't overassess regurgitation or underassess stenosis. Correlate with clinical finding. It is going to help you. Now, when to do the TE? So, TE is required when you want to evaluate the valve diseases, prosthetic heart valve function or dysfunction, cardiac masses which are present in any chamber of the heart, the ICU patients with hemodynamic instability, congenital heart disease to diagnose, and even for the therapeutic correction, you have to confirm with TE. Thromboembolic risk in patients with atrial fibrillation and inadequate auto anticoagulation. Detection of aortic dissection if it occurs or if it is existing. Complications of endocarditis if it occurs. Potential etiologies of stroke, adjunct to percutaneous cardiac procedures and cardiac surgical procedures too. Now, whenever there are indications, there are certain contraindications also. So you should know what are the absolute contraindications and what are the relative contraindications. Absolute contraindications, you should not do the TE examination when there is an esophageal spasm, when there is an esophageal stricture, when there is an esophageal lacerations, esophageal perforation. So any disease which is in the esophagus with diverticula also, you should avoid doing the TE examination. Relative contraindications are large diaphragmatic hernia may significantly hinder TE imaging because of lack of transducer mucosal approximations. Atlantoaxial diseases and severe generalized cervical arthritis, TE should never be performed if there is any question about stability of the cervical spine is concerned. Patients who received extensive radiation to the mediastinum, this can cause significant difficulty in probe manipulation within the esophagus and is a relative contraindication if the anatomy of the esophagus is not known. Upper GI bleeding, significant dysphagia or odinophagia, you have to be really cautious about doing TEE. Now, TE is a multiplanar imaging. Your TE probe is going to be through the oral cavity, and it is going up to the upper end of the esophagus, and you are going to get the pictures at this level. So you can see the aorta ascending aorta, descending aorta, and the upper part of the heart. If your probe is in the mid-esophagus, you are going to see the cut pictures of the heart at this level. If your esophageal probe is in the lower esophagus, then you will get the imaging at this level. And if your probe is in the stomach or in the gastric area, you will get the image here. And if it is in the deep gastric area, you are going to get the images here. So upper esophageal views, mid-esophageal views, transesophageal views, and deep gastric transesophageal views you will see with the help of doing the TEE examination. Now, transesophageal echocardiography nomenclature, upper esophageal views, 20 to 25 centimeter probe is inside. Transgastric views, 40 to 45 centimeter probe is inside. Mid-esophageal views, 30 to 40 centimeter probe is inside. And deep transgastric views, 40 to 50 centimeter probe is inside. Now, this is an anatomical picture is going to tell us about the esophagus, about the right and left pulmonary vein, pericardial cavity to just understand right atrium, left atrium, tricuspid valve, posterior leaflet, septomarginal moderator band, sternum is here, interventricular septum, left ventricle, anterolateral papillary muscle. You will get the idea about doing the TE, posterior leaflet of the mitral valve. So you will get complete idea about the mitral valve, left atrium, and left lower pulmonary vein. Now, mid-esophageal views, if you see, the trachea is here, mid-esophageal, the probe is in the mid-esophagus, mid-esophageal level 30 to 40 centimeter, angle is 0 to 180 degree, and you are going to see LA, RA, RV, and RV. Now, this is the picture showing the mid-esophageal ascending aortic short axis view. Probe is 30 to 40 centimeter inside, and you will get idea about the right pulmonary artery, superior vena cava, aorta, and pulmonary artery at the angle of 0 to 60 degree. These are the pictures we are going to get it in the mid-esophageal aortic short axis view. Now, if your probe is at the 60 to 70 degree angle, then you will get the different pictures. So left atrium, this is the mitral valve. There are the three planes, P1, P2, P3. So you will get P1, A2 and P3 in this picture, and you will get idea about this. So this is the picture which is showing the LA, LV, P1, A2 and P3. So P1, A2 and P3 is in a single line. Mid-esophageal commissural view. LA, P3, LV, P1. This is the P3, P1 and A2. This is the picture we are going to get it in this view. Now, if your angle is 60 to 90 degree, you will get LA, RA, RVOT, and these are the coronary cusp. Non-coronary cusp, inferior coronary cusp, and right coronary cusp. So you will get idea about the coronary. Mid-esophageal RV inflow outflow tract, LA, NCC, ICC, RCC, RA and RVOT, you will get it in 60 to 90 degree of the angle. Now, if your angle is 80 to 100 degree, then you will get LA and LV, LA and LV. Inferior posterior wall, this is anterior wall, left atrial appendage. So you will get idea about any pathology in these two chambers. Now, if you will move the angle 80 to 110 degree, then you will get idea about the SVC, IVC, RA and LA. So this kind of the picture you will get it, and this is known as mid-esophageal bicaval view also. Now, if your angle is 120 to 160 degree, then you will get RVOT picture, LV, aorta and LA. So any pathology here, you will get idea about the pathology at this angle. This is the picture, mid-esophageal two-chamber view, LA, LV, aorta and RVOT. So aortic base, you will get idea about any pathology here. Now, mid-esophageal aortic long axis view, 30 to 40 centimeter ascending aorta, RPA and aortic root you will get. Now, mid-esophageal ascending aortic long axis view, RPA, and aortic root, ascending aorta at 110-degree angle. Now, this is 120 to 160-degree angle. You will get LA, aorta, LVOT, and RVOT. Mid-esophageal aortic valve long axis view, this is known as. Now, angle is 30 to 60-degree, mid-esophageal aortic valve short axis view. Your probe is 30 to 40 centimeter inside, and you are going to get idea about these structures. Now, multiplane angle range 0, upper esophageal ascending aortic long axis view. Your probe is 20 to 25 centimeter, and you are going to get idea about these structures. Upper esophageal aortic arch long axis view. Now your angle is 90-degree, and you are going to get idea about the left common carotid artery and aortic arch, and your probe is 20 to 25 centimeter inside, and this is the short axis view. Now your angle is 90 to 110-degree, and this is the long axis view, and you are going to get idea about the descending aortic long axis view. This is. Now this is descending aortic short axis view at the 0-degree, and probe is 30 to 40 centimeter inside. Now 0 to 20-degree, probe is 40 to 45 centimeter inside, and you will get idea about the LV and RV. Anterolateral, posterior, posteromedial, PM. Transgastric mid short axis view, you will see the posteromedial papillary muscle, left ventricle, anterolateral papillary muscle, and right ventricle. Now 0 to 20-degree transgastric basal short axis view, you will see right ventricle and left ventricle. So any less movement or dysfunction, you will get idea of the left ventricle. These are the mitral valve leaflets: anterior mitral valve leaflet, posterior mitral valve leaflet, right ventricle and mitral orifice. This is also known as fish mouth appearance of the opening of mitral valve. So this is transgastric basal short axis view. Now, if your angle is 80 to 100-degree, then you will get idea about the left atrium and left ventricle transgastric two-chamber view. Your probe is 40 to 45 centimeter inside. So transgastric two-chamber view, you will see left atrium, left ventricle, and inferior wall motion, any motion abnormalities. Now, if your angle is 90 to 120-degree, then you will get idea about the LA, LV, aorta, and RV, transgastric long axis views. Now, if your angle is 110 to 120-degree, you will get idea about the right ventricle, right atrium, RVOT, and this is the tricuspid valve. So any pathology here you can find out in this view, transgastric RV inflow view. This is also known as. Now, deep transgastric long axis view, your probe is 45 to 50 centimeter inside, and angle is 0 to 20-degree. And this is the picture you will get it: right ventricle, left ventricle, left atrium, and aorta. So deep transgastric long axis view. So what are the indications for operative TE? When you are performing any cardiac surgery, then you can do categorization of the surgery supported by the strongest evidence of expert opinion. So if you have done the heart valve, then valve repair is done properly or not. Is there any regurgitation around the valve, across the valve? If there is any paravalvular leak, so you will come to know the technical problems, if any, is there. Most congenital heart surgery requiring cardiopulmonary bypass. So any air is in the chamber, you can find out. Endocarditis, particularly with extensive diseases, are inadequate preoperative evaluation of the disease extent, you can find out. Ascending aortic dissection, if occurs, or repair when aortic valve involvement is unknown, you can find out. Evaluation of life-threatening hemodynamic disturbances when ventricular function is unknown, you can find out. And pericardial window procedures and hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy repair, if you have done, you can find out whether it is done correctly or not. Now, indications for operative TEE category 2, supported by Vickers evidence and expert consensus: heart valve replacement, removal of cardiac tumors, increased risk of myocardial ischemia or hemodynamic disturbances, intracardiac thrombectomy or pulmonary embolectomy, suspected cardiac trauma are for detection of foreign bodies, cardiac aneurysm repair, thoracic aortic dissection repair without suspected aortic valve involvement, evaluation of anastomotic sites during heart and or lung transplantation, monitoring placements and functions of assist devices we will come to know exactly. So these are the indications which we are going to do it for the cardiac surgery cases. And thank you very much for your patience hearing. And if there are any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you, Manju. I think you finished right on time and gave a very explicit
Now the forum is
explanation.
open for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Manjula.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear? Can you hear? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, ma'am.
Dr. Manjula, thank you very much for giving us a very, very detailed insight into the different views, because these views are what every person who's initiated into echocardiography has to learn. Just as when you do transthoracic echo, you need to know your 5 major views. But unfortunately, in transesophageal echocardiography, you've got to know all the 28 views. So this is the biggest challenge of learning TEE. Dr. Manjula spoke very nicely about all the views. There are 8 enhanced views, like the upper esophageal short axis view, the LA appendage view. These are some of the views which have just come up in the last 2 years or 3 years in 2018 guidelines. Earlier, we used to think of the 20 as the basic views. These 8 views that have come up are very, very important when we need to make a niche diagnosis. Anyone who has any questions is free to ask in this forum before I ask Dr. Manjula Sarkar 2 questions. Any of the PGs, any of the observers? Dr. Manjula?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you slightly softly, but I think there are no questions. Something that I wish to know and just generally discuss when we are in a pulmonary embolism phase, when we've got to make a diagnosis of where exactly is a pulmonary embolism, especially whether is it housed in the MPA or is it in the left or the right part or at the bifurcation. Very often embolus may be sitting at the bifurcation. So what all 2 to 3 major views would you think are very essential after having done a full workup of the chambers of the heart?
See, regarding pulmonary embolism is concerned, that I think Poonam, you only answered this question, because that pulmonary embolism experience for me is really less, and we don't do
because this is where we get stuck. We get stuck with the views in very, very difficult situations. A, in aortic dissection, B, in pulmonary embolism, and C, when we have to see a restrictive VSD and tell the surgeon about the rootability of the VSD, especially in a TOP patient. Is it a DORV or is it a simple VSD which would be able to be rooted? These are three questions which I find very difficult sometimes when we are doing an intraoperative TE. And once you know the basics, it's very important which views are needed. So since I asked the question, I'll answer it. Pulmonary embolism, when you see something, then you know there is a burden on the right side of the heart, right? Because the PAs arise from the RV. Now, when you see the RV chamber dilated and the free wall of the RV not moving well, you need a very thorough four-chamber view. Dr. Manjula told you about mid-esophageal views. So the mid-esophageal four-chamber view, with your cursor move towards the right side, the entire transducer move to the right, will give you a very good view of the right side of the heart, the RA enlargement and the RV enlargement. So first is your mid-esophageal four-chamber view. The second view that comes very, very important is the RV, mid-esophageal RV inflow-outflow view. So in the inflow, you're able to see the RA in detail. You're able to visualize the intra-atrial septum, distinguish between any ASD or PFO that's present. Then you see the septal and the anterior or posterior leaflet of the inflow valve, which is the tricuspid valve. You see the moderator band in the RV. You see the dilatation of the RV. You see the movement of the epicardial and the endocardial movement of the RV endocardium. And you see if there is any fluid around the heart. Very often when you have a cardiac tamponade, you see a gap between the RV as well as the thickened pericardium outside, and there is fluid in the pericardial sac. So this gives rise to a swinging heart. Sometimes maybe not so well seen in pulmonary embolism, but we just, today morning, I went for an emergency thromboendarterectomy that we did at the bifurcation pulmonary embolism yesterday afternoon. Today was tamponading with rise in RA pressures and this cardiac tamponade. We just put in a TE probe in the OT. We could tell the surgeon this is where your clot is lying. So generally along the RV free wall, you'll see the pericardial sac fluid and you'll see a thickened calcified pericardium, and you should be able to visualize this. Very often, PE, when you've done a thromboendarterectomy, cardiac tamponade along with dysarrhythmias, any kind of arrhythmias are very, very important in the first 24 to 48 hours of the patient's recovery in the ICU. The third view, which is very important, is to see the transgastric RV outflow view, because it's at the outflow that you see the RPA, the MPA, and this divide into the RPA and the LPA. And if you are at the last view, which is the upper esophageal aortic arch 0 degrees view, which Dr. Manjula told you about. If you go from there at 90 degrees, you're able to visualize the pulmonary valve and the whole of the MPA. So that view at 90 degrees is a very important upper esophageal view. Any examiner tomorrow will ask you, what are the 4 basic TE views for a pulmonary embolism? So if you are a DM or a DNB candidate, please do remember this is what you need. Even if you are contemplating to do the IACTA TE examination, this is a very important view that you must know.
So Dr. Poonam has told you the question, and you know that what she's going to ask in the exam of DM or in the DNB when you are appearing for.
I personally feel if you know the views, you should go over them 2 to 3 times after you've learned them, and do basic 20 on your own in 10 minutes. That should be your expertise by the time you're a final year DNB or a DM student. It's very important that you know that. The second important thing is very often you'll be called in as an SR or a JR for a, I mean, any one of you on an emergency duty for a cardiac tamponade. You must be able to visualize a cardiac tamponade, how swiftly you put in the TE probe. She told you about the probe panels. There's a big wheel, there's a small wheel. How you put in the probes, how you angulate. Manjula, you told very nicely about the 2 wheels and the angulations. And at every slide and every view, you were telling us at this angle and this length. It's important to remember what she said, that the length as to how much you are in tells you about, if you're in the upper esophageal, about 25 to 30 centimeter of the probe in is all right. If you are at the mid esophageal, then between 35 to 30 is, I mean, 25 to 30 is fine. And if you're transgastric, then you need to move further, maybe up to 40. So, and how you insonate the probe with the anti-flexion, retroflexion, moving your wheels, that's important to learn when you're a novice learning basic TE. Anything else you'd like to add, Manjula, from the exam point of view, or what they need to know from the point of view?
No, as you said it, that they should know the basic views. They should know the how they are dealing with the probe in the short axis and long axis. They should know the angulation and which angle they are seeing and what they want to see. So as I said it at that in the beginning, you decide in your mind what you want to see, which structure you want to see, what pathology is expected as per your clinical examination and history. And then if you do TE, you are going to be successful.
And something very nicely that you must know are the guidelines. You must read the American Society of Echocardiography guidelines.
Yes.
They've been published very recently. The latest ones, which you may see, are just 2017-18. The updating has not yet come about from they first started in 2011, then 2013, every 2 years, 2015, then 2017. I have not seen for basic TE many guidelines, but the American Society Echocardiography SCA guidelines 2016, you search the net right from 2001 till 2019, you'll be able to see the guidelines. Each guideline tells you about all chambers of the heart in detail, like for the LA, which view should be good. It's not just the, let's say you need dimensions of the LAAP, then transesophageal echocardiography is not the right answer. It's a transthoracic echo which will make you measure. Maybe when you do a deep transgastric TE view, you would be able to see the LA and measure the LA and the gradients across the LA. But LA chamber size for LA strain, if you're doing an advanced TE, has come up in a very big way. And so has the RA sizing. So you must know as an experienced echocardiographer, as your journey begins, how can I visualize every chamber of the heart? And if you see and read the latest 2019 guidelines, you'll be able to realize this. I'm sure in 2021 December, we'll have the new guidelines come in again. But 2019 guidelines, if you see, will tell you how to visualize on TE, the LA, the RA, the RV, and the LV, and tell you everything. What is the importance of the moderator band? It's a very important, the width and the size, the location, is it more apically placed? Tells you a lot about the formation of arrhythmias, because these bundles, this valve is near the Purkinje-His bundle. So a few things that you must keep in mind and you must think of when you are doing a TE is, what is the pathology of the patient? First, a basic 20 views thing, then your 8 new views, then every chamber of the heart, and then make a diagnosis. If it's a simple ASD, what kind of an ASD is it? Where is it placed? Is it in the upper interatrial septum? Is it in the mid? Is it in the lower? What kind of ASD can I look at? Is it just a PFO? If so, is there a gradient between the LA to the RA? Those kind of things you should be able to, the more you read, the more you'll be able to answer. So this initiative by Dr. Mullidhar, I think, is a very great initiative. And I have to compliment him and his team. We are all members of the TE Refresher Breakfast Session, I think since its inception, right, Manjula?
Yes,
We've all been coming at different times.
yeah.
And for me also, listening to my friend colleague was a big teaching. She's an ace teacher. She knows her basics and her things well. She's done wonders at KEM. And the best part about Dr. Manjula is I've always seen a smile on her face. I don't think so she has an enemy. A smile makes friends. And I think even her students, I see it at the KEM forum when I've gone there. Her students are always around her, surrounding her like a garland. And this is what she is, an ace teacher. If there are no more questions, is it time, Rajiv, to close the session?
Yes, ma'am, we can close the session, ma'am.
Any questions from anyone? We can wait on for another 5 minutes. Manjula, your concluding remarks before we go.
Okay. So you have just, done lots of praising for me. I really don't know whether I deserve it or not, but
You do.
always, always it's good when I am with you. I feel supportive from your side. Dr. Muralidhar is, so there is no doubt. He is really good. He has taken so much of care of whole cardiac anesthesia community to grow, to develop, to teach, and we always feel proud to learn from him. And this was really wonderful session, and I hope that we are going to meet soon physically also. Thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you, Manjula. Thank you, Rajiv. Kudos to you to make us all join at sharp 9, and your Herculean efforts of keeping everyone communicated are great. A big thank you to Dr. Muralidhar, who is in another North Zone session of IACTA. And I do agree with Manjula. He's the sutradhar of all cardiac anesthesiologists.
Yeah.
He's kept us all together in different forums. And I really call him a spiritual guru and a TE guru for us anesthesiologists across the country. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rajiv. And to the whole team of Narayana, have a happy Sunday and a good week ahead. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your
Great
kind
being
words,
with
ma'am.
you, Manjula.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
And going forward, we will be introducing many more classes. We will be updating you in the group itself, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Manjula Sarkar, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Bye. Bye,
bye,
everyone.
ma'am. And thank you all the attendees. Next session, we will be meeting on next Sunday. And our Dr. Arupratan Maiti from UK, he will be taking the class. Updated schedule will be sharing everybody via the group. Thank you all and happy Sunday.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.